Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Trix. I'm mostly a Diablo 2 Resurrected content creator, but this weekend I got to try the Diablo 4 closed beta. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I'm going to go over all the aspects of the game that I thought were interesting, and some of my thoughts will be at the end, so stay tuned for that. So first, you can customize the character. You can change their gender, you can change their face, their hair, their jewelry, their body markings, and you can actually change the color of all of these things, which is pretty cool. And once you're in the game, you can go to the wardrobe, which lets you transmog your gear. And if you have pieces of gear that you've salvaged and found throughout the map, you can actually use those styles and put them on your character instead of like showing the gear you're actually using. And you can also change the color palette of your gear. I picked purple. I like the purple and brown color palettes. I thought those were cool. And max level is 100. And there's also Paragon points. The second aspect of the game that I'd like to talk about is the world. So the world is super spooky. It gives me hardcore Diablo 2 vibes, which is awesome. I love that like dark horror kind of style. And the map is huge and diverse. All the areas I went to, they were all different. It was very immersive as well. Like your character can climb walls, crawl through little crawl spaces or under logs and stuff like that, which was pretty cool. You can find dungeons, strongholds, cellars, events, and altars all around the map, which you can explore and use to your benefit. I found dungeons were huge, but also really fun, and I really liked that there were mini bosses at the end of the dungeons that I did. And by activating waypoints, discovering areas, completing dungeons and side quests, using the altars of Lilith, you can earn renown. Once you earn a certain amount of renown, you can gain rewards. The rewards I earned were gold and experience, and also skill points. Also, I thought this was awesome. The server is global. That means you can play with anyone all across the world, and you don't need to change your servers. That's awesome. There's also cross-network play, so I almost want to buy a console just to play in my living room while my husband plays on the computer or whatever, play with my friends on whatever console they're using. So that's super exciting. I can't wait to do that. It's also worth mentioning that the seasons will be 3 months long, and it will have themes, which is pretty similar to Diablo 3, how every season has like a certain attribute or theme that's going on that helps your character get through the game. So that's pretty exciting. So the third aspect of the game I wanted to go over is the world tiers, or the difficulty. There are 5 difficulties that you can change at any time from the character select screen or from the world tier statue in the game. I found that in the main city I was in. The first difficulty is called Adventurer. So loot is of average quality and the enemies are easier to handle. The second difficulty is called Veteran. Enemies are more challenging, there's better loot, and more experience and gold is dropped. You can choose either Adventurer or Veteran off the bat from the very beginning without completing any part of the game. The third difficulty, it's called Nightmare. This can be unlocked by completing the Cathedral of Light dungeon on Veteran mode. So in this mode, champion monsters are now available to kill, and sacred items have a low chance of dropping. Nightmare sigils are also unlocked, which gives you access to Nightmare dungeons. And non-physical resistances are reduced by 20%, and players gain 100% more experience. So it's starting to get a little bit harder at this point. So the fourth difficulty is called Hell. This can be unlocked by doing the Fallen Temple dungeon with the Nightmare difficulty applied. Sacred items drop more frequently, and rare Nightmare sigils can be found at this point. Players' non-physical resistances are reduced by 30%, and players gain 150% more experience. And the fifth and last difficulty is called Torment. So this can be unlocked by completing the Archives of Isalia. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I'm trying. And that's a dungeon on Hell difficulty. So in the Torment difficulty, there's new uniques that can be found, and ancestral items have a low chance of dropping. I didn't actually get to see either of these things because I could only play up to Veteran difficulty, so I'm not quite sure what that is. It almost makes me think it might be like a primal or ancient gear similar to Diablo 3, but that's just my speculation. Players' non-physical resistances in the Torment difficulty is reduced by 40%, and players gain 250% more experience. And the last aspect of the game I'd like to talk about is the crafting and materials. So there's a ton of materials that you can collect in the game. Some things that I was picking up were berries, animal hides, and ores. Some towns have vendors which let you do different things with those materials. The first one I was excited to go to was the blacksmith. He lets you salvage your gear to create the materials, and these materials can be used to upgrade your gear and make it even stronger. So that was super helpful. I always went there with full bags of gear just because I need to salvage them, make room, and upgrade the stuff. So that was super helpful. Make sure you check out the blacksmith as soon as possible. The second vendor that uses materials that I saw was the alchemist. He lets you upgrade your potency of your health potion and also lets you create elixirs, which I thought were a really cool addition to the game. These give you increased stats and experience gained for a limited amount of time. And it's important to up your potion so you heal better, heal more hit points. So definitely make sure you pick up the berries because you need a lot of berries to do that. So there's also a jeweler in the towns. This is where you can unsocket your items if you put a gem in it, or upgrade your jewelry and add sockets to your gear that you're using. So you need a lot of materials for this as well, but it's definitely worth doing. I just threw a bunch of gems, like random gems in my gear, and I didn't really check. I just got them. I used them as I got them, but once I got back to town, I decided to unsocket it, which was really easy to do. And then I actually read what the gems do, and I figured out the best place to put them in my gear. There's also an occultist where he lets you modify your gear and add aspects to your gear, which are legendary affixes. These legendary affixes are created by destroying legendary gear. So when you go there, you can destroy specific legendary gear and you get the specialty affixes that come with the legendary gear, and you can add that to your gear. These affixes can also be traded, which I thought was a really cool aspect of the game. So you can possibly buy or trade these affixes with other players in the game. You can also reroll the attributes on your gear. So this is similar to Diablo 3 where you can reroll just one attribute, and you can reroll it to the same attribute with better stats, just like Diablo 3. And you can also create sigils which upgrade the dungeons. So the last vendor that I came across in town was called the Purveyor of Curiosities. He lets you gamble for gear, but you have to use the Murmuring Obols. I'm not sure if I'm saying obols correctly, but that's how I'm reading it. So these are collected by completing events that show up on the map as a red circle. They show up randomly. And you can also purchase Whispering Keys from him that unlock silent chests. I haven't actually came across any of those yet, but sounds pretty interesting. There's also a stash in town if you need to store some of the gems or gear that you find along the way. The space is 5 by 10, and then you can also spend gold to buy more tabs, which is similar to Diablo 3. Alright, lastly, this is my thoughts on the game so far. Playing the beginner closed beta, it seemed to be just the beginning campaign, mostly Act 1. I had a blast playing it. I played on veteran from the very beginning, and it was pretty challenging. Like, it was a good challenge. Kept me interested, had to pay attention. I did try hardcore, but I died level 10 on the barbarian. So I'm gonna have to practice a lot. I think I'll only be playing softcore at the beginning when the game comes out, just so I can get that practice in, because I do want to play on the hardest difficulty, so I'll need a lot of practice. And I really liked the characters that we got to play. I enjoyed the barbarian the most, I think, but I actually finished the game with a rogue, and she was pretty fun. I think everyone will really like that character because she's so versatile. I ended up sticking with bows mostly. You can do daggers and traps, and I actually used some defensive moves that were really helpful for beating the bosses. I really liked that you could change your skills in the moment too. I ended up fighting a boss who killed me 4 times before I actually beat him, and in order to beat him I had to change my skills, so it was nice that I only needed to spend some gold to change my skills in the moment in the dungeon. That was really, really nice. It was important to adapt to the playstyle, the mechanics that he had for me, so I had to do that. And they also added a dash and evade skill to all characters, which lets you move a short distance quickly so you can avoid danger. I thought that was an awesome addition to the game. And it's also on cooldown, but you can change the cooldown, reduce the cooldown from affixes on your gear, which is awesome. I also found an affix that made you speed up after using it, so that was really helpful. I really like too that you could see debuffs on your health globe instead of just like a small box above your skill bar. So when you're vulnerable, your health globe turns into like a broken glassy look, and also purple. So it was really easy to notice when you were vulnerable because I'm kind of always glancing at my health globe. So that was nice. It made it more obvious for me, and I really liked that. There's also lookout points in the game. You actually didn't get any rewards for using the lookout points, but it kind of made the game more immersive because it zoomed you out on the map and showed you the area you're about to explore. Like this really cool cathedral, it zoomed out and showed you the whole outside of it. I thought that was really, really neat that they did that, so definitely check those out. I also like that there's a certain zone that you have to go to do PvP, and if you're entering, you're given a warning. And that's pretty nice because it gives you heads up that you're probably gonna die. Someone's gonna stand there and wait for you to enter and probably murder you. So it's nice that they gave you a warning. And also we asked, and they said that if you're playing hardcore and you die in one of these PvP zones, your hardcore character is dead for good. So good to know. Make sure you're ready to fight when you go in there if you're hardcore, for sure. The layout of the skills is pretty awesome too. I like that it was mostly linear. Like you had the choice to do whatever you wanted in that batch of skills, but it wasn't like all the skills together at once. Kind of like I'm thinking of Path of Exile, where it's just like all there. You have to put a certain amount of points in the little group before you can go to the next group of skills and put points there. So I kind of like that. It was less overwhelming than I thought it was going to be, which is nice. And also you can search for things in the search bar, so skills. For example, I wanted to use a Berserk Barbarian, and I knew that I wanted to have skills that worked well with Berserk. So I just typed in Berserk and it showed me all the skills that would apply to Berserk and work well with Berserk. So that was really nice that you could use that. Overall, I can't wait to play more Diablo 4, and I'm really looking forward to the open beta so we can all share experiences and knowledge collectively together. I can't wait to talk about it with you guys and have you guys help me, like teach me more, something I missed. I don't know. There was a lot, so I'm sure I missed quite a few things, but I'm super excited. I can't wait to play with all you guys, and thanks for watching. You can find me streaming Diablo 2 Resurrected on Twitch every day except Sundays, and I hope to see you there.